team, welcome to my overview video of Psychic Awakening Faith and Fury, the new supplement that you can get from Games Workshop from pre-order from today, the 16th of November. And you can buy it from Games Workshop from the 23rd of November. As ever, thank you to Games Workshop for sending it through to me and other bloggers, YouTubers and reviewers so we can get our greasy little paws on it and let you know what's inside it and let you know our thoughts. Now, I've decided to break this video down into 3 videos because there is 3 portions of this book. Well, there's a couple more other bits, but 3 main portions of this book. And some of the portions will have no relevance to some of you out there. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to do an overview of the video and talk about the first chunk. And the second chunk of this book is the Codex supplement for the Black Templars. There'll be another video going up for that, for Black Templars fans that want to dive into that one. And then the third chunk of this book is for Heretic Astartes fans, not for those that have the Black Legion or Renegade chapters such as Red Corsairs. Their upgrades and their extra bits were covered in the Vigilus campaign. So nothing in here for Black Legions or the Renegade, Heretic Astartes, but there is stuff in here for Iron Warriors, World Eaters, Night Lords, Emperor's Children, Alpha Legion, and Word Bearers. There are new relics, warlord traits, and stratagems for those Heretic Astartes legions, and I'll cover that in another video. But in this video will be the overview and all the other bits that aren't in the Black Templars bit and the Heretic Astartes bit. So overview is, there's 3 bits to this. Well, there's more. There's 4 bits. There's the bit at the beginning, which is the narrative. And this is set around Teledus, which is a spit away from Terra. In galactic terms, it's really, really close. And there's a big battle going on Teledus. And obviously there's some narrative behind it. There's some narrative about the Psychic Awakening and the Cicatrix Maledictum. They are turning the volume all the way up to 11 here to really impart the feeling of threat and grim darkness. It's really getting grim in the dark now, guys. And that's what they're trying to get across with these Psychic Awakening books, just how bad it is getting. The narrative at the beginning is 6-8 pages long, not very big, and there's 2 missions in here that you can play on Teledus, the stand at Saints' Walls, and the underground incursion. And there's a couple of extra little stratagems that you can play in those missions, and there's a couple of extra little rules for playing inside a warp tear, playing inside the Cicatrix Maledictum itself, which are very Diet Coke, to be honest. There's a potential to do a mortal wound here, there, and everywhere, and a potential for Psychers to manifest powers on 1 more. They get a +1 to their dice roll when they manifest a psychic power, but then they take a mortal wound after they've done so. So that's the narrative. That's the first chunk in this book. That's where this is set, and those are the missions. And then, as I said, 2/3 of the way in, we have the Black Templars Codex supplement, and 3/3 of the way in, you have the Heretic Astartes bits. That's what's in the book. And at the beginning bit, the first third, I said quarters, didn't I? Well, it's about Masters of the Chapter. So if you're a Space Marine player, you can upgrade unnamed Space Marine characters, chaplains, librarians, tech marines, apothecaries. And you can give them warlord traits, you can give them relics. Yeah, how do you upgrade one of your characters? Well, your character can't be named, so it can't be Grimaldus or someone like that. What you do is you spend a command point before the battle begins. So you've got a librarian, you can spend a command point and make him a chief librarian. You've got an apothecary, you can spend a command point and make him a chief apothecary. You've got a chaplain, spend a command point before the battle begins, you make them a master of sanctity. If you spend that command point and upgrade them at the start of the battle, then you can give that character warlord traits if they're your warlord, or you can give that upgraded character a relic if you want to give them a relic, and they don't have to be a warlord to take a relic. That's how you upgrade your stuff, and we'll come back to this at the end of the video. I'll talk you through each of these in more detail and what they do, but this is an overview video, so let's jump on to the overview of the Black Templars. The Black Templars, what can they do? Because even you Heretic Astartes players out there are probably wondering, have we got a new Iron Hands on our is there a new Iron Hands Codex supplement here? How worried do I have to be? The answer to that question is Not very, unfortunately. So just like White Scars or Ultramarines or Iron Hands, when a particular Codex Doctrine is in effect, Black Templars get an upgrade. And the Codex Doctrine that needs to be in effect for Black Templars is the Assault Doctrine, which is unfortunate because when you start off the battle, you're in Devastator mode. And then you switch to Tactical mode. And then you switch to the Assault Doctrine mode. So these things don't kick in until turn 3. However, there is a stratagem that you can use to chuck it on a unit so that it can kick in turn 1. But it's an assault-based thing. Black Templars, what do? Basically, when they charge or perform heroic interventions and they are attacking anything that's not a vehicle, 6 is to hit, auto wound. That's it. If they get charged, they don't have this. If they attack a vehicle, they don't have this. It has to be, there's a number of dominoes that need to fall here. The Assault Doctrine needs to be in effect. They need to charge or heroically intervene and then smack stuff. 6 is to hit, auto wounds. There's a couple of stratagems in here so they can get extra attacks or reroll wounds. But that's what the Black Templars do. They get a bit punchy. They also can't bring librarians. That rule is back in here. And we've got Grimaldus, we've got the Emperor's Champion, we've got Halbrechters in here. But they can also bring Crusader squads. Crusader squads are back. For those that don't know, Crusader squads are like Space Marine tactical squads, but you can mix scouts into them. So typically tactical squads can only go up to 10. But what Black Templars can do, they can have up to 10 power armored Space Marines and 10 scouts mixed up together in one squad, so a big squad of 20. Or they could have 5 power armored Marines and 5 scouts. Or indeed, in match play, you can pick and choose, can't you? You can have, I think you have to start off initially with 5 power armor guys, but then you can add another scout and another scout. It's a way of bringing in mixed squads. They're Crusader squads. And when they resolve an attack with a melee weapon, they reroll hit rolls of 1, so long as the power armor dudes outnumber the scouts dudes. And they get that in close combat when resolving an attack with a melee weapon. That's a basic rule that the Crusader squads have. There's stratagems in here, warlord traits. There's also an extra bank of litanies. In the previous codex supplements, what we saw was new psychic disciplines for people. So if you're a White Scar, you can take the one in the main Space Marine rulebook or the White Scar book. If you're an Iron Hand, you can take the one from the main Space Marine book or the Iron Hand book, or the Obscurus one as well for Phobos pattern librarians. Well, here, Black Templars don't have librarians, so what have they got instead? They've got an extra chunk of litanies. So chaplains can take their litanies, the 6 litanies from the main Space Marine book, and there's 6 extra litanies in here. Basically, if you're running Black Templars, you've got a good couple of chaplains running around, and some of the litanies are very good. There's one that allows you just to hit on 2s, and it's an aura effect. So that's what the Black Templars do. And then we get to the Heretic Astartes stuff at the back. So for all you loyalists out there, do I have to be worried? Well, in here, there are essentially 3 pages of rules per Heretic Astartes. There's another 3 pages of Gumph, a page of how this book works, and a page of names, and a page of tactical objectives, stuff that we are not as interested in. But each of the Heretic Astartes, the Night Lords, the World Eaters, the Word Bearers, they all get 6 new warlord traits. They all get 5 or 6 new relics, and they all get some new stratagems to play with. So you're going to see, if you go up against World Eaters, if you go up against Word Bearers, or if you've got them yourself, there's a little bit of extra sugar in your tea to make your tea a little bit stronger when you're fighting against them. And that's what's in this book. We have the narrative at the beginning, we have the upgraded characters, then we have Black Templars, and then we have a bit of sugar in the tea for the Heretic Astartes legions. As discussed, the Heretic Astartes Legion video will be a separate video for those of you really interested in that stuff. The Black Templars video will be a separate video for those of you really interested in that stuff. But right now, I will cover the Space Marine upgrades, what a Chief Librarian is, all that sort of stuff. So we'll jump straight into that. But before we do, there's 6 new litanies in this book that your chaplains can bellow out. The 6 new litanies are in line with the 6 first founding Space Marine chapters that are in the main Space Marine rulebook. So if you use one of those first founding Space Marine chapters or a successor of, so if you're an Ultramarine or a successor of the Ultramarine, you've got an additional litany your chaplain can bellow out. If you're a Raven Guard or a successor of the Raven Guard, there's an extra litany that your chaplain can bellow out, and you'd pick this one at the start of the fight instead of one of the other ones perhaps. So I'll just quickly let you know what those are. White Scars, 6-inch aura. You can re-roll the wound roll when you're fighting, if you get that litany off. Imperial Fist, or the successors, 6-inch aura. When you overwatch, you can overwatch on a 5 or 6, anything within 6 inches of the chaplain. Salamanders, 6-inch aura. Units can perform heroic interventions within 6 inches of the chaplain as if they were a character. Iron Hands. Iron Hands, of course, get a really good one. Add 1 to the strength of models in friendly Iron Hand units while they're within 6 inches of your chaplain. So a 6-inch aura plus 1 strength. Ultramarines. Roll any dice rolls of 1 when they advance and charge, 6-inch aura. And Raven Guard, it's a nice one. 6-inch aura, any unit that fell back can shoot. And if it flies, any unit that fell back can shoot and charge again. 6-inch aura. Of course, that one's quite passive. You're going to have to know that you're going to get charged. Mind you, if it's your turn, if you're going first during the battle round and you've been charged, then you can have a chaplain nearby that could bellow that one out, and suddenly your Raven Guard units can fall back and shoot without penalty, without that -1 to hit like Ultramarines have. 6-inch aura on that one. Those are the chapter litanies. Right, let's look at these upgrades for non-named characters. The first one is Master of Sanctity, and it's a chaplain. You spend a command point before the game begins, and your chaplain knows an additional litany, and he can chant 2. Cassius can already do this from the Ultramarine supplement, and as can Cramaldus from the Black Templars supplement, but most chaplains can only bellow out one litany. Now your chaplain can bellow out 2. Remember, named characters cannot take this, so it's not like you can suddenly give it to Cassius and he can bellow out 3. It's an unnamed character, all of these upgrades. So you can bellow out 2, and you know an additional 1. And if you let this guy be your warlord, there's 2 warlord traits you can pick from. One is when you roll, if a litany is recited by this warlord, you can re-roll the dice. And the other one is add 3 inches to the range of the warlord's spiritual leader ability when he bellows out an order. So re-roll for giving out orders, or a 9-inch aura rather than a 6-inch aura for giving out these orders, for giving out these litanies. So for 1 command point, do you want to upgrade a chaplain to make his aura bigger? I think we might see that one, maybe. There's 2 relics you can give the Master of Sanctity as well. They don't have to be your warlord to get them these relics. One is give him a 3-up invulnerable save, and the other one is the opponent can never re-roll a hit, a wound, or a damage roll when the chaplain is getting beaten up. That's the Master of Sanctity. You probably won't see very many of them running around, but the Master of the Forge, we're going to see him. I should mention as well that each of these Masters and Chiefs, you can only ever get 1. This 1 command point thing to upgrade 1, you can only do this to 1 unnamed character. But yeah, we're going to see the Master of the Forge run round, not because of his basic ability. His basic ability, as soon as you upgrade a Tech Marine, it can't be a Tech Marine Gunner for the Master of the Forge, it's got to be a normal Tech Marine, but as soon as you upgrade him, he will heal 3 wounds on a vehicle, not D3. We're not going to see him because of that, but we are going to see him because of the 2 warlord traits you can pick. The second warlord trait is add 1 to the strength and attack characteristics of friendly dreadnoughts within 6 inches. Not great. But the other one, when resolving an attack made by a friendly vehicle model within 6 inches of this warlord, add 1 to the hit roll. Master of Machines. So we're going to see a Master of the Forge in the backfield with a 6-inch aura with 3 tanks around him, and those tanks will have +1 to their attacks. Remember, a shooting attack is an attack. So we're going to see Land Raiders, Predators hitting on 2s just for 1 CP, and it's a 6-inch aura. So the Master of the Forge, we're going to see that guy. The relics he can take, one of them is a really punchy power axe, and the other one is a 4-up invulnerable save, because typically Tech Marines don't get invulnerable saves. So I think it's 120 points for a Mortis Dreadnought with a missile launcher and a twin las cannon, and it's 140 points to have a Venerable. And people bring the Venerables along not because of the 6-up ignore wound rolls that Dreadnought have, but they bring them along because of the hitting on 2s that Dreadnoughts have, particularly when you put Wisdom of the Ancients of them, hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1s. You don't even need to keep a captain near back there. But you can, instead, if you've got 3 of these bad boys, 3 Dreadnoughts in the backfield, if that's your bag, instead of spending 140 points on each of them, spend 120 points on each of them and just put a Master of the Forge back there with them. And the attacks characteristics of friendly Dreadnoughts within 6 inches, because they're vehicles, will be +1. So they'll be hitting on 2s with their las cannons and with their missile launchers. And you'll save yourself 60 points. And your Master of the Forge will put 3 wounds back on them instead of D3 wounds. For 1 command point, I'll buy that for $1. Or if your bag is having 3 Predators back there, I don't see them as much as they used to, then you can have 3 Predators back there. If you've got a Land Raider back there or any other type of vehicles in your castle in the backfield, then the Master of the Forge is going to be back there with your vehicles. If you have a vehicle back line, if you have infantry back line with Hellblasters and Suppressors, potentially you won't see this guy as much, but a command point for that, which is epic. You don't have to give him the relics. You don't have to put a relic on the guy to give him a punchy axe or give him a 4-up invulnerable save. You can just make this guy your warlord and spend your relic elsewhere upgrading something else. Next up, we have a Chief Librarian. As discussed, you can only take 1 of these. It costs a command point before the battle begins. And the Chief Librarian knows an additional psychic power and can deny an additional psychic power. So typically, Space Marine Librarians can cast 2, deny 1. Chief Librarians can cast 2, deny 2. And they will know 3 and Smite. So with Smite, they will know 4 for 1 command point. There's 2 relics. One of them is a punchy power sword. And the other one is the Neural Shroud, which increases the Psychic Hood range to by another 12 inches. Psychic Hood is 12 inches out. You get +1 to deny the witch. Well, this will make a 24-inch +1 to deny the witch. And that might be useful if you're bringing Chief Librarian and you mainly play against Eldar or another very psychic-ish power. Who else does loads of psychers? Tyranids. Tyranids have lots of psychers. So yeah, you bring a Chief Librarian along. This guy's denying 2. The Psychic Hood range is 24. That's a useful relic for him. His Warlord traits, if you make them your Warlord. One is Psychic Mastery. Your Chief Librarian adds 1 to his Psychic add 1 to his psychic tests, and the other one is High Scholar of the Librarius, and your warlord can generate psychic powers from any discipline that they know, rather than from only 1 discipline. So typically, Space Marine Librarians either pick the standard discipline, or the Obscurious discipline, or the one from their particular supplement. This one, you could mix and match. You can pick a power from the Space Marine one, like Null Zone, and you could pick one from the Obscurious discipline if you want to. So you can mix and match the psychic powers or add 1 to his psychic test. So it's nice. It's not great. It's nice. It's particularly good if you're playing, as I said, mainly against Tyranids and Eldar. If that's what your opponents play a lot of the time, you're probably going to bring this guy. Chief of Apothecary, 1 command point. Suddenly you get a Chief Apothecary. Now we know what apothecaries can do. They pick people up after they've been hit down, or they heal your characters. Mainly they're there to pick people up. Why would you want a Chief Apothecary? Well, you can re-roll that dice roll. The Chief Apothecary, for 1 command point, when he provides medical attention, you can re-roll the dice. So you're more likely to pick people up. He's also got 2 Warlord traits, and one is a 6-inch aura, which gives a 6-up feel no pain to anything within 6 inches of him. Of course, it makes Iron Hands better, because Iron Hands already have a 6-up feel no pain. So if you have a Chief Librarian there, then that 6-up becomes a 5-up feel no pain for Iron Hands within 6 inches of him. He's also got another, so you're going to see that one a lot, particularly for Iron Hand players. They're going to be bringing Chief Librarians, Chief Apothecaries, and having a 5-up feel no pain. They can have disgustingly resilient Iron Hands. It only works on infantry and biker units, though, that 6-up feel no pain or 5-up feel no pain if you're an Iron Hand. The other warlord trait is Selfless Healer, which means he can pick up 2 people, or he can do it on 2 different units. And because he's a Chief Apothecary, you'll be able to re-roll that dice roll. Picking up 2 people in one turn, particularly if 2 Hellblasters got knocked down or 2 Devastator Las Cannon guys got knocked down, is quite useful. You're going to see Chief Apothecaries. There's 2 relics. One is a pistol, which is a bit crap, and the other one is any infantry models within 1 inch of him, basically almost base to base, will have a 5+ invulnerable save. There's a chapter ancient in here. Instead of just a company ancient, you have a chapter ancient for 1 command point. Pick this guy. And what that means is his banner ability works at 9 inches rather than 6 inches. So people firing one last time or fighting one last time, a 9-inch aura rather than a 6-inch aura. So we might see this one quite a lot. There's 2 warlord traits for him, and one allows heroic interventions within 3 inches of him. And the other one gives infantry units the Defender of Humanity ability, and if they already have it, they count as having +1 model in that unit. Defenders of Humanity, that's objective secured. So his warlord traits are not great, but a 9-inch aura is great. His first relic, however, is fantastic. Standard of Righteous Hatred. Models that shoot with one of their range weapons or make a single attack with one of their melee weapons as a result of the Astartes banner always resolve that attack as if they had a ballistic skill or weapon skill of a 2+. So what do their banners do? Well, when stuff dies around you, you roll a dice and they have 1 last shot. The Hellblasters there have 1 last shot. The Devastators have 1 last shot before they fall over. When those guys get up and have that last shot, they're going to be hitting a ballistic skill 2. So that's nice, particularly when this guy's got a 9-inch aura with his banner as well. And the second relic is the Pennant of the Fallen. Models that attack with one of their melee weapons as a result of the banner ability make 2 attacks instead of 1. We're not going to see that. People don't go rushing forward with banners, and besides, 8th edition is a shooting edition, more of a shooting edition than it is a punchy punch edition. So chapter ancients are interesting, and the last thing in here is a company champion, a chapter champion, sorry. Chapter champions. In melee, the enemies have -1 to hit them. There's a warlord trait that allows chapter units to re-roll charges within 6 inches of him, or there's a warlord trait which allows you to do, on a 4+, you might do mortal wounds back in close combat. It's the re-roll charge warlord trait that people will be picking this guy for. If you want to give him a relic, you can give him a 2+ save and a 4+ invulnerable save, or you can give him a special stabby sword. So those are the 6 upgrade characters in this book. I think we might see chapter ancients with their 9-inch auras and people getting up and shooting on 2s. I think we're going to see Chief Apothecaries definitely in Iron Hand lists. And I think the thing that we're going to see all the time is Master of the Forges. We're going to see Master of the Forges probably picked as warlords in lists that have vehicles in the backfield to give those vehicles +1 to the hit rolls when they shoot. The other ones are good. They're a nice bit of sauce. They only cost a command point each. And I'm obviously going to be using the Chief Librarian one whenever I run Chief Librarian Sagan Mir, because he's been called Chief Librarian Sagan Mir forever. And I don't particularly like running the Vigilus books or these sorts of things. But there are rules for him now, so I guess I have to use them. The reason why I don't like using them is because 8th edition for me is the accessible edition. They've got contrast paints, which make painting easier. They've got snap fit models, which make building models easier. The core rulebook is 8 pages long. Makes understanding at least the core rules a lot easier. The more accessible 8th edition is, the more people it brings into the hobby, and the more people it brings in the hobby, the better it is for everyone already in the hobby. They've added layers and layers and layers of complexity on this hobby since 8th edition launched. Now it's still much easier than any previous edition. 7th edition, main rulebook, 40 pages long, and 22 pages of USRs at the back of the book, which you had to memorize, and you still forgot, despite the fact that you had a YouTube channel and you were playing 1 or 2 fights a week every week for years, you still forgot well, you knew what fleet did and rending did and shred did, but what did that one actually mean again? And you had to pick up the rulebook and go back to that. That was what the main rulebook was like. And then we had codexes, and then we had formations, and then we had all the huge range of facts that we had. At least now we've got codexes in the main rulebook and facts. We've got them. The facts are still as huge as they ever were, but the main rules are much simplified. The formations are largely gone. There's a couple here or there. And then these little books like the Faith and Fury book or the Vigilus books, adding that layer of complexity. I personally don't think it's good for the hobby. Now, there's competitive players, tournament players, or even casual players out there that like adding a little bit of spice in their burrito and having that, and they're playing, casual players playing in a small group, and there's 4 or 5 of you, and that's who you play 90% of the time. Getting one of these books and adding a little bit to your army, and you know the 4 or 5 players that you're playing against routinely, and adding a supplement into a group like that, that's fine, because there's only a couple of you playing. Adding a supplement like this to a casual gamer who goes to his local gaming store and doesn't know what he's bumping into, maybe not so good. Adding supplements like this into tournament play, I don't think is healthy for the game, because tournament players are going to pick obviously the very best thing that they can use for their army, and it tilts the meta in a particular area, a particular location, which 9 times out of 10 Games Workshop then have to address in further supplements. I think one of the reasons why Space Marines got so powerful is because they were one of the first codexes to come out, and we had the codex creep and the creep and the creep, and so finally when they came around to getting to the Space Marine codex again, they thought, oh no, we need to address this, and added shock assault and added bolt of discipline and added these extra rules on top and these extra disciplines on top, just to keep them up with the regular with the remainder of the game. So I prefer things simpler. I think it makes things, the game as accessible as possible. And that's my little rant. I'm getting a bit ranty these days. I must stop that. So let's stop this bit. This is the main bit of Faith and Fury, Psychic Awakening. Those are the main bits that you can add. Those are the characters that you can add, the upgrades to the characters that you can add. As I said, I will discuss the Black Templars in a separate review and discuss the Heretic stuff in a separate review. But I'm going to shut up now, otherwise I'll start ranting again. Thank you everyone for listening. If you want to support me, then please join us in the Deployment Zone at www.deploymentzone.tv. I'm also on Patreon at DZTV if you want to support me that way, and jump in the Discord. Thank you everyone who already chooses to support me. You guys are legend. Happy wargaming.